The man had just woken up and didn't notice the news on TV. It was reporting a horrifying story about a rabies-like virus spreading rapidly across the globe. Infected individuals lose their sanity and become extremely aggressive. Residents were urged to take precautions, but unaware of the news, he went out as usual. He noticed there were way more ambulances on the streets today. Then at the supermarket, he saw people frantically stocking up on supplies. Ray felt it was strange, but didn't think much of it. He bought enough food for a few days and went home. That evening, his sister sent him a video call. It was then he realized what was happening. She worked for the government and knew more details. She said the virus was much worse than reported. The authorities had built a safe zone on an island. She urged him to come meet her so they could evacuate together. Hearing how serious it was, Ray immediately booked a flight. But as he waited to board, the ticketing system suddenly crashed. Then all flights were canceled. Everyone's phones buzzed with an emergency alert. The virus was spreading too fast, and the country was now under lockdown. No one could leave or enter. Some people realized the severity of the situation and started shouting. Ray quickly called his sister for advice. She told him to head home and wait, saying she'd send someone to get him soon. But when he tried to go back, the streets were already gridlocked. Panic had spread and everyone was trying to flee. Seeing the chaotic crowds, Ray abandoned his car, grabbed his luggage, and started walking home. By the time he got there, exhausted, he noticed soldiers guarding his neighbor's house. He watched in horror as the neighbors were tied up and dragged away. Their crazed screams and violent thrashing sent chills down his spine. Ray's desire to escape grew even stronger. The next day, his sister brought worse news. Not only was his area now under lockdown, but the government planned to set up quarantine zones to contain the virus. Troops would soon arrive to forcibly evacuate everyone, but even the relocation zones wouldn't be as safe as the island. She told him to avoid the soldiers at all costs and hide. Once the area was completely abandoned, she'd come back to get him. Thinking about how long it might take for rescue to arrive, Ray rushed to the supermarket to stock up on supplies, but the shelves were already empty, picked clean by others. He had no choice but to gather whatever food was scattered on the ground. Just as he stuffed his backpack and was about to leave, he suddenly saw a policeman clutching his blood-soaked arm running in. The officer locked the supermarket doors in a panic. Before Ray could react, he saw a crowd of people screaming and running in the distance. Then another policeman was tackled to the ground by an infected person. Ray grabbed a stick, ready to help, but froze in fear at the infected person's terrifying presence. They barely managed to take it down, but before Ray could celebrate surviving the ordeal, he noticed the wounded policeman inside had already mutated. Seeing what had happened to his partner, the other injured officer told Ray to stay far away from him. Then in despair, he shot himself. When Ray got home, he immediately boarded up all the windows and doors. Then he pulled the curtains tight to block any view of the inside. By this point, the military had started evacuating the remaining civilians. Soon there was a knock at his door. Ray hid in a corner, holding his breath, making no sound. Luckily, the soldiers moved on and he avoided detection. Half a month passed and the entire city had become a ghost town, completely abandoned, but Ray was still waiting for rescue. With no signal, he couldn't contact his sister either, and now his food was running out. He had no choice but to risk going outside to search for supplies.